Hey everyone, and welcome to Isms by Josie. Today we're going to be continuing doing our dinner series, making our takeout. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we are going to continue where we left off doing our takeout. I am using a Crochet Cafe booklet that I got from Amazon. If you'd like to get this book, I will leave a link in the description box below. I do not have any affiliations with whoever's selling this book, but I highly recommend it because there's so many cute projects that you might have seen thus far. I've done breakfast, I've done lunch, now I'm doing dinner. And I am trying to get these out to send to my goddaughter for her birthday. So we are going to stay tuned for the rest of the dinner, and then we have snack and then dessert. So I can imagine that those other sections are not going to take so long because it's one item for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Obviously, it's a bunch of items into one. So today we're going to be continuing, and we're going to make the noodles. And I'm going to try to fit everything in one video because it's not that much, I think. So we're going to do noodles. We have to make the shrimp. And then after that, we're going to do the chopsticks and the fortune cookie. So there's not many items left to do. It's just you have to make more than one. But of course, I just make the one on the video. And then you can always rewind and do the rest of that item off video. And then also for this video, it is a supplement to the instructions. So if you really want to make any of these items, I highly recommend you get the booklet. And for the instructions, I always repeat new stitches at least 3 times, step by step. And then for the instructions, I read each row. If there's something that might be confusing, I'll try to help you guys with that. If you need to speed up and slow down the video, there's a gear button in the corner of the screen. Click on it. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me because I am stumbling on my words today, you could always lower the volume on your device and then click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so here's our takeout box. I didn't really present this. We have our little flaps. This is all good to go. If you wanted to hide this, you can sew like a felt piece of over this. I'm just going to leave this exposed. I don't know, it's not that big of a deal for me. It may be for you, but let's get started. So this actually calls for a 4mm hook. I have a 3.5 and I'm going to stick with it. That just means that my project is going to be smaller than yours. And that's fine. You can use a bigger needle. Heck, you can use a smaller needle as long as your yarn kind of fits with the hook. Because if it's too big, you're not going to be able to hook it. If it's too skinny, the hook's going to be too big to fit into the stitches. Alright, so we're going to do that. The first thing that we have to do for the noodles is I have my yarn right here. We are going to start off by casting on to our hook using a slip knot. So we'll do that. So what you're going to want to do is use your ring and pinky and thumb and hold one end. On the other, you're going to take your index and middle and just hold it apart like this. Then we're going to take our hook and lie it perpendicular to the yarn. And then we're going to go down, out, and around to create this loop around the hook. And you can slide your hook up and down the yarn. We're going to slide it down towards the thumb. I'm going to take my middle finger and just hold it where it crosses because I'm going to let go of my left. I'm going to gather up some feeder yarn and then I'm going to re-pinch the end here. And then you can slide your hook further down like this. We're going to pinch it where it crosses so that you can no longer move your hook up and down. Then we're going to yarn over, which is taking this yarn over the hook like that. Then we're going to pull this strand through this loop like that. Now what I'm going to do is overhand my hook like this. I'm going to re-pinch the end right here, and I'm going to push this knot towards my left thumb. So just take your fingers here and just slide that knot down. Slide it down till it can no longer move. So it doesn't have to be butt up against your thumb, but you know, the closer the better. Because what we're trying to do is eliminate the amount of waste. So this tail here, it's not going to really service us any. So the shorter the better. Okay. So just pulling this excess piece a little bit more just to tighten up this knot right here. And then I'm going to grab the knot and we're going to slide it up towards the hook. You want to leave a little space because we're going to have to start doing our stitches. So for the next steps, we have to do a lot of chains. The chain stitch is the most basic stitch of crocheting, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So what you want to do is grab the knot right here. This will stabilize your project. You need that kind of tension so that you can make your stitches without issue. If we didn't hold it, it'd be really tough to do. Everything would be rolling around. Alright, so hold that knot. We're going to do a chain stitch. To do a chain stitch, you want to yarn over like that, and we're going to pull this through the loop. Just like that. And that's it. That's a chain stitch. And that's why it's the most basic stitch you can possibly use in crocheting. So let's show you how to do that again. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull this strand through the loop. There you go. Now you have 2 chains. All right, let's do this one more time with you guys. Yarn over, then pull through the loop. So now you have 3 chains, and let me identify what makes up a chain. So if you look at each chain, it looks like a braid, and that's kind of how I picture it, I guess. It comes with 1 loop over here, the other loop on the other side, and then if you turn it on its profile, you can see that there's a back hump. So that's 3. There's 3 loops that make up this chain. And this is good knowledge to know down the road. So we'll get back to that. Anyway, so now we're just going to continue making all the chains that the instructions are asking you to. And it's in the hundreds, so it does sound intimidating. But as long as you have these trusty markers, it's going to be real hard for you to lose count. So I recommend getting a pack of these. They're a few dollars online or at a hobby store, and you can mark them. You can mark them every 10, 20, 25, 50, however you want it, every 100. It depends on how good you can count without forgetting what count you're in. So for my purposes, I think I'm going to mark them every 50. Okay, so you definitely want to have more than just one of these. All right, so let's do that now. Okay, so I have 50 so far. Okay. So just so I don't lose count, I'm going to put a marker, and what you want to do is slip the marker underneath the braid. So I showed you that each chain stitch has 3 loops. We have loop here, you turn it on its side, and you can see the back loop right here. You want to slip the marker just under the braid right here. So you can see the braid has picked up the marker picked up the braid, and on the other side it is showing the hump. So that's exactly what you need to mark, and that's what we've been doing for all these videos. And you can close the marker and then start back at 1. So this is going to give you a break from having to call out high numbers. You can also get those stitch counters, but I prefer just to do a manual count. So I'm just going to collect some yarn here. I was kind of shocked too. I was like, wow, this is a lot of chains for a stretch a noodle. Like, my noodles are not that long, but it's what it calls for, so we're just going to do it that way. So let's continue. All right, gonna mark another 50 chain count mark here. And I like this too because you're gonna see your noodles change. You have to make 4 of these, by the way, which I think is insanely a lot of chains. But you're gonna see the beginning of your chain and towards the end. Maybe not on the first noodle, maybe not on the second, but you do have to make 4. You're going to start seeing that your rhythm of motion is going to help you create more consistently sized chains. So it might be all wonky and all here and there, but you will get better the more you do these. So it's a very daunting task to make these noodles, but the more you do this, the more practice you're essentially making. Okay. Alright, and then we're going to grab another marker. Okay, and then you're going to keep repeating this until you complete the whole noodle. So I'm going to come back after this and show you how to fasten off and weave in the ends. So till then, I'm going to do this in silence. All right, so I've completed the whole thing. And I'm going to show you how to fasten off. So you don't need it to weave or anything. So I'm going to cut off like an inch or so. And we're going to fasten this off. So let me show you how to do that. So all it is taking the yarn that you've cut, yarning over and pulling through the loop all the way out. And then you can tighten up your little loop there. So now it's secure, I guess. And what we're going to do is weave it in and out. So what you want to do is stick your hook underneath each braid. So underneath the 2 loops of each chain. And we're just going to yarn over and pull all the way through. And then you want to flip it so that you can do the same thing but the other way, because we're going to be weaving like this, if that makes any sense. So yeah, stick your hook back into the chain underneath the braid, yarn over, pull through the loop all the way out, and we're going to flip this again, do the same thing, put under the braid, yarn over, pull all the way out, and we're just going to keep doing this back and forth. Okay. And you want to keep doing it until you use the whole thing up. So it's never always going to be perfect. There's going to be the end piece that is going to stick out from one of these chains. You can trim it, but since it's just a chain stitch, it might just pull out from the next chain and you're going to see the end stick out. So it is what it is. It's fine. There's just so much of this noodle anyway, you might not even notice. So, and as I'm getting shorter on my thread, it's getting a little bit more difficult to handle. So at some point I might just give up on doing this weaving, but at least there's enough to hide a good amount of it. Okay, this might be the last one here, if I can get it in the... All right, it is what it is. So it's probably gonna look like that no matter, you know, how close you weave it to the chain. But yeah, so I'm gonna remove these markers now. And again, you're gonna want to do 3 more of these. I luckily did these offline, I mean off camera, so I'm gonna actually just show them to you. All right, so I think it tells you how to like assemble it. They have you like rolling this up, and when you roll it up, it's like, oh yeah, I can see like even the chain stitches makes that kind of crinkly ramen noodle. But I'm gonna take my little container now, and like I said, I actually made the rest in advance. So I have my 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm just gonna fluff up this little ball of noodle and just put it into my container. I've got 3 more of these, so let me just fluff these up as well and stick them into the container. And I can see now why all those chains are necessary, because it's making the length, it's making the look, and I'm loving it. Look at that. If you want, you can go a little crazy and just not even ball it up. You can make it like organic and just meander inside this little container. But yeah, so here we have our noodles. Look how cute that is. There's a smiley face. He's got his noodles. All right, so then next we're gonna move on to the next piece of this takeout, and they have us doing the shrimp. So again, like I use the colors that I have, so it does tell you what kind of colors you should use, but if you don't have them, you know, improvise. So what I ended up using, it says peach. I don't have peach. I have pink. So I'm going to use pink. I think sometimes shrimp does look pink to me, so we're just going to do that. All right. Now, hold on a sec. Okay. Let me set this aside. All right. So for this, we are going to be doing the magic ring. So let's show you guys how to do that. You want to take your yarn and you want to wrap it around your finger about 3 times. Like this. Have a little bit of overage so you can take your middle finger and place it down like that. Meanwhile, you can take your 3 strands and make sure that they're straight. They're not too tight, but you know, not loose either. And then we're going to take our hook and slip it underneath the 3 strands. So then we're going to pull this hook back out, but we're going to drag this strand underneath these 2. So let's do that now. All right. Then from here, we're going to yarn over. So put the yarn over the hook, and we're going to pull this strand through this loop. And now we can let go of our middle finger. We can slip the loops off of our index finger, and we can start doing our single crochet stitches. So I'm going to gather some yarn here. Alright, so to do a single crochet stitch, we're going to stick our hook into the loops. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So we have our first single crochet stitch. Then we're going to stick our hook back into this magic ring here. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So now we have 2. One more time with you guys. So stick your hook into the magic ring. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So now we have 3 single crochet stitches. I showed you the parts of the chain stitches. So for the single crochet stitches, if you look on top, you can see the same braid that we had with the chains. It comes with loops on here and here. And then this is what it looks like on the side profile. So I'm just going to continue doing the rest of the single crochet stitches, and then we're going to move on to the next steps. So once you've completed all your single crochet stitches, what we want to do is then close this magic ring. So they call it a magic ring because you have like a huge hole to start, and then when you're done, the hole is going to disappear. So what we're going to do is pull on this excess piece. We're looking to see which loop will go in first, this one or that one. So let's gently pull this piece. You can hold the stitches down here, not too tightly, so that there is movement. So start pulling this. And then I identified this loop going in first. So what you want to do is pull the lower half of that loop out. Not from the top, but from the bottom. So I'm going to grab that bottom part of that loop and start pulling, and then you're going to see the other loop start to disappear, and that's exactly what we want to happen. Okay, once that loop is all in there, you might still have a little hole, but that's okay. We're now going to grab the excess piece here, and we're going to make this loop disappear. So pull until that's gone, and you might still have a hole again in here, but we're going to get rid of that now. So to get rid of the hole entirely, you can pull in the opposite direction and a little bit up. This is going to allow you to pull in a different way. There's just a little bit more that we're not seeing here. So just pull that. You're going to feel a little give. It might not be a big one, but you're going to feel it, and then just stop. You don't have to pull it too harshly. But yeah, this hole is now completely closed. So from here, we're going to take our marker and we're going to slip it like we did with the chain stitch just under the braid of the last stitch we made, like that. And you want to make sure you're not piercing any strands of yarn here. You want a nice clean mark. And then we're going to move on to the next rounds. So for round 2, we're going to do an increasing stitch. So let me show you how to do that. An increasing stitch is basically 2 single crochet stitches in 1 stitch. So what you want to do, because the first round might be a little muddy, you want to count back the number of stitches that you're supposed to have starting with the marker. So I'm going to count this back, and then I'm going to put my hook into the last stitch of that count. So putting my hook in, and from here we're supposed to do 2 single crochet stitches. So let me show you how to do that. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So that's 1 single crochet stitch. We're going to go back into that same stitch we just used, put in your hook, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So if you look closely, this 1 stitch here has 2 single crochet stitches. So I'll show you how to do that again. Into the next stitch, put in your hook, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then into the same stitch, put in your hook, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So again, you have this 1 stitch, and in it you can see the 2 single crochet stitches. So let's do this one more time with you guys. Into the next stitch, put in your hook, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Into that same stitch, put in your hook, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Again, 2 single crochet stitches in that 1 stitch. So now we're just going to go all the way around. Alright, you should end up where the marker is. I'm going to remove this marker now, and I'm going to put it at the last stitch we made, just under the braid. Again, you want to make sure that you clear it and that you're not piercing the yarn. And then we're going to do the next round. So for the next round, we're alternating single crochet stitches with increasing stitches. So let's do that. Alright, so once I'm finished that round, we're going to replace the marker to the last stitch we made underneath the braid, and then we're going to move on to the next round. So for the next round, we're going to be alternating single crochet stitches with an invisible decreasing stitch. So I'm gonna have to show you how to do that. So do your single crochet stitch, and then I'm going to show you how to do your invisible decreasing stitch. So what it is taking 2 stitches and making it into 1. So the increasing stitch increases the size, and the invisible decreasing stitch makes the size smaller. So put your hook, we're going to put our hook into the front loop only. So I've explained with the noodle and with this magic ring that we have these braids for stitches, and they consist of 1 loop here and 1 loop here. Normally when you crochet like this, you're holding your part like this, right? So this is the first you see of the stitch, and then you can see the other loop back there. And what you want to do is stick your hook into the front loop only. So what you're going to do is come up from underneath the loop, and you're going to stick your hook into the front loop like that. So the back loop is just chilling in the back. So from here we're going to stick our hook again to the next stitch over into the front loop only. So in the next stitch, come up from underneath, and then just go through the front loop, leaving the back loop again in the back. So from here, we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through these 2 loops. So let's do that. And then from here, yarn over and pull through these 2 loops. And that's how you make an invisible decreasing stitch. You just have to make sure you know what this looks like, because we're going to have to go into the next stitch over, and you don't want to accidentally confuse what stitch we already used versus the next free stitch. So like I said, we're going to alternate these 2 stitches, and you want to go into the next stitch and do your single crochet stitch. Okay, then we're going to do an invisible decreasing stitch again. So you want to use the next 2 free stitches. So stick your hook from underneath up between those loops and through the front loop only, so the back loop is just here. Then we're gonna go into the next stitch underneath through the front loop only, back loop is still back here. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through these 2 loops, and then yarn over again and pull through these 2 loops. Alright, so now into the next free stitch, we're going to do our single crochet stitch. And then one more time, you guys, I'm going to show you how to do an invisible decreasing stitch. So into the next stitch, come up from underneath through the front loop only, then into the next stitch over, go from underneath through the front loop only. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through these 2 loops, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through these 2 loops. Alright, so then you're just going to continue the rest of the way, and then we're going to move on to the next steps. Okay. Last bit here. Alright, so I'm going to remove this marker, and I'm going to slip this under the last stitch we made, just under the braid. Your project is wanting to curl in, and that's normal. But what we need to do is flip this inside out. This excess piece is sticking out here, and that really should be tucked in and away. So what we're going to do is invert this project. You're going to flip it inside out. So let's do that now. And you can tell which side is the nicer side, because obviously that tail is not sticking out in the middle of nowhere. And then you can see the individual rounds. So that's what we want to see. Alright. So now what we're going to do is the next several rounds. This new marker is going to be marked as round 5, and we have to go up through 11. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what we're going to do next is all simple. It's single crochet stitches, and we're going to keep doing them, leaving the marker and just remarking the last stitch underneath the braid with these new ones. So I know when it's quits when I use up the last marker, and then we'll pop back in and see the next steps that we have to do. Okay, so I finished rounds 5 through 11, and now it's telling me to add the eyes. So I'm gonna get the embroidery floss that I used to make the eyes. I have this color because I thought maybe it would be closer to the shrimp color, since I already picked a pink. That's a little not right for shrimp. So as you know, I just have like this pack of embroidery flosses, and I'm just trying to use what I have, and this is what I have. So I'm going to thread this up. Okay, and then we want to make this smile. I don't want this hook to be flopping around. It's a bit heavy. It's made out of metal. So I'm just going to pull this loop to be bigger, way bigger, so I can remove this hook, put it down. The loop is big enough to where I'm not going to lose the stitch, or at least it'll take a hot minute or more to remove that loop. So I'm going to pick a side that I think is going to work for the face. And what we need to do is put these eyes between rounds 4 and 6 and 2 stitches apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going up in here. And then I'm going to stick this in here. I want to leave a little bit of a tail so I can tie this off later. Okay. And then I'm just going to make several passes to make the size of an eye. If you have safety eyes, feel free to just pop those in real quick. And that's, you know, that's the good thing about having the safety eyes. The only thing that I don't like about them is if you are intending on giving this to a child, it could be a possible choking hazard. So I'm going to embroider the eyes. Okay, then I'm going to skip my 2 stitches here, and we're going to do the other eye. And you want to make the size of the eye about the same size. Oops. Okay, and then from here we're gonna go do the smiley mouth. I'm gonna come up in between the eyes on one side, right, and then I'm gonna go down in the other. Okay. Then I'm going to want to leave a little loop to make the dip of the smile. And then I'm going to come back up a little bit lower than the last row. Okay. So I can keep that dip in the smile. Then we're going to go back in. We've got to tie this off. All right. Once we're back in here, I'm just going to try to get to that. You can flip it inside out. I'm going to go ahead and tie this twice to secure the mouth and everything. And then I'm going to trim off the rest. Okay, then we're going to flip this back. So we have our smiley face right here, and then we're going to continue with the project. So what we need to do is take our hook, put it back in that large loop, tighten it up, and and we're going to continue. So for the next round, we're going to do an invisible decreasing stitch. When does it tell you to... Oh, we have to add stuffing. Oof. Alright. You're going to have to get stuffing, fiberfill, whatever they call it, to fill the cavity of the shrimp. So I got myself a 32-ounce bag of fiberfill, so I have seemingly an unlimited supply. So what you're going to want to do is just stuff this in here and then shape it up like a shrimp. You can add as much as you want to make it as firm or squishy as you'd like. So alright, and then after I fill that in, then I'm going to do my invisible decreasing stitches. Okay. Alright, so now that we have that done, we have to fasten off. So what we're going to do is, we don't need it to sew anything, so I'm just going to cut off about 1 inch or so. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through the loop all the way out. Pull this piece here. I'm going to thread up on the needle, and we're going to weave this end in and out of the stitches that are left here. Okay, and then once we come all the way back around, we're then going to pull on the yarn to tighten up that hole. Then you just have to find a moment to tie your knot. Okay. Then I'm going to pull this closed, and we have to then hide this, so I kind of took out the needle. But what you want to do is stick this back into your project, and then we're going to come out off of some random location just so we can pull this inside, and then we can pull the needle all the way out. From here you can either trim this or just squish it so that it disappears in there. If it's not disappearing, you can just cut it flush. But like I said, then you can shape your shrimp with the fiberfill inside. So now from here, we're going to do the next steps. Okay? Alright. So from here, I'm going to take my red yarn, and we have to do the tail next. So grab your red yarn and we have to cast on to do the chain stitches. So ring, pinky, thumb, hold one end, index, middle, hold apart the other end, take your hook, lie it perpendicular to the yarn. We're going to go down, out, and around to make a loop around your hook. Slide it down towards your thumb. Take your middle finger here and just place it where it crosses so that you can let go of your left hand. Then I'm going to gather up some yarn here. We're going to re-pinch the end and then slide your hook further down. Once you hit your thumb, then we're going to pinch right where it crosses so that your hook can no longer move up or down. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull this through the loop. I'm going to overhand our hook, re-pinch the end. I'm going to push this knot close to my thumb and tighten up that knot. So once you get to a point where it won't tighten any longer, you can take your thumb and middle finger and just pull that excess piece a little bit more, just to get a little bit of that knot a little more tighter. Then I'm going to grab the knot and slide it towards the hook. We're going to leave a little bit of room so that we can start our next stitch, our next row. Alright, so from here it's asking to do a bunch of chain stitches, so let's do that now. Alright, so I'm just checking the count. Alright, so from here we have to fasten off. And then we have to leave some for sewing. So like I said, I like to double up the length of what we're doing. I'm going to cut this here. And we're going to fasten this off. So we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull this through the loop all the way out and then tighten up the loop here. I'm going to thread up my needle and then we're going to do the next instructions to sew this on the shrimp. Okay, so they want you to create a W. So what we're going to do is from the first stitch of this chain stitch, I'm going to put the needle in the back hump right here. Okay, then I'm going to count about halfway through our chain stitches and I'm going to stick the hook, the needle into that back hump. So count halfway through these chains and put the needle through the hump. So we're going to continue to pull on this until everything gets pulled together. So now we created these two loops, and so from here I'm going to get my shrimp and I'm going to sew the tail to the body of the shrimp. Okay, you can come back in and make sure that this is all secure, and then once you're about done, we can find an opportunity to tie our knot. Okay. And then tighten this up. Whoa. Alright, and once we've got that, we just gotta hide it into our shrimp. So get in there on one end, come back out from a random end. I'm gonna pull this through. Alright, then you can cut this flush with the body. And then we're just going to squish on this to sink that back in there. Again, you can reshape your shrimp. So here is our finished shrimp. Cute, right? Craziness. So you have to make 2 of these, and I'm going to make the second one off camera. And we're going to come back in and we're going to throw these into our takeout. Alright, so here we have our little box that currently has our noodles in here. I'm going to come in and throw in our shrimp. And I have 2 of them. You can just put them in here randomly. Now we're going to move on to the next steps, and we're going to be making chopsticks. So for the chopsticks, I don't exactly have the right colors, so I'm just going to use what I have, but we're starting off with the red. So I have my red here. I'm going to move this aside. And we're going to make, again, 2 of these because, of course, you need 2 chopsticks. But we're going to start off with the magic ring. Alright, so to start off this magic ring, I'm going to show you guys how to do it again. This is our second time doing it in this video. You're going to take some of this yarn and wrap it 3 times around your finger. Put your middle finger over it to hold it down. We're going to straighten out and tighten our 3 strands on here. I'm going to take my hook and slip it underneath the 3 strands. I'm going to drag the hook back out, pulling this strand underneath these 2. And then I'm going to yarn over and we're going to pull that through this loop. So from here we can let go of our middle finger, we can slip the magic ring off our index finger, and then we can start our single crochet stitches. So stick your hook into the magic loops. We're going to do our single crochet stitch. Again, stick your hook into the magic loops. We're gonna do a single crochet stitch. Then one more time, you guys, stick your hook into the magic loop and then do your single crochet stitch. So far we have 3 single crochet stitches, again with the loops on each side. Side look. And then we're gonna complete the rest of this before we move on to the next steps. Alright, so then from here, we're going to hold the bottom part of this magic ring and we're going to pull this string out to see which one of these 2 loops goes in first. So pull it nice and slow and then stop when you see a loop move. So this one back here started to move. What you want to do is pull out the lower half of that loop, not up here but down here. So grab that lower half and start pulling it out. You're going to see the other loop go in, and you want to keep pulling till that loop is gone. Then we're going to take the excess piece and you're going to pull on this till you see this loop disappear. And then once that is gone, we're just going to pull in the opposite direction and a little up to get those few, probably millimeters left of that yarn, and then you're going to see that the hole is now gone. I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to mark off the last stitch we made, and we're going to move on to the next round. Alright, so for the next round we have to do actually rows 2 through 5 the same stitches. So this will be 2, 3, 4 and 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, and we're going to do our single crochet stitches. You're going to want to count back from the marker the number of stitches you need, because sometimes it's hard to see where to put your hook next. But once you've identified that, we're going to move on with our single crochet stitches. Okay. And then once we hit that marker, I'm going to leave that marker in there, and I'm just going to use another stitch marker. This is going to be for the third round. And then my project is already wanting to curl into itself, which gets a little annoying. So once I finish this round, I'm going to try to flip the project inside out. And because we're working with such a small set of stitches, it's not going to be easy flipping this inside out. All right, before I put the marker into the next round, I'm just going to flip this inside out. Or at least try to. Okay. And once that's flipped, you have this excess piece here. We're just going to shove this down here as far down as possible so that we don't accidentally crochet that in the next rounds. I'll have to keep an eye out on that. I'm going to take my marker and mark the last stitch we made, and then we're going to continue doing our single crochet stitches. Alright, then I'm going to take the marker, mark the last stitch we made, and then do this one more time. Yeah, I'm not a fan of working with such a small set of stitches, and we're making chopsticks, so we know it's not going to get any bigger. If anything, it's going to get smaller. Alright, I'm going to take a look ahead. I'm not going to complete the last single crochet stitch because I don't know when we're changing colors. Alright, so I'm just gonna, I have one more single crochet to do, but I'm gonna look to see what we have next, because yeah, it is saying that we have to change to tan. Now I do have the colors that you see me make the noodles with, and I am gonna make a fortune cookie out of another similar tan color, and I have nothing else after that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a black to do my chopsticks. It's different. I actually used to have black chopsticks, but this is what I'm going to use. So we do have that last single crochet stitch left. I'm going to remove this, so make the loop huge so we can set ourselves up for another cast on with a slip knot. Alright, so again, ring, pinky, thumb, index and middle finger. We're going to hold this yarn apart. Hold your hook perpendicular to your yarn. You're going to go down, out, and around to make a loop. Pull the hook close to your thumb. We're going to take the middle finger and just hold it where it crosses. Remove the left hand. Gather some feeder yarn. We're going to repinch the end and slide our hook further down towards the thumb. Where it crosses, we're just going to pinch it so we no longer can move the hook up and down. Yarn over, pull through the loop, then overhand your hook, repinch the end, and we're going to push the knot towards the thumb until you can't push anymore. And then I'm going to take the thumb in the middle and just pull the excess piece a little bit. There's a little bit more you can pull out. Alright, from here we're going to take the knot, slide it up towards the hook. At this point we are going to be transitioning colors. I couldn't find the word. So remove the loop off the hook. We're going to put our hook back into that large loop that we made and then tighten it up with the feeder yarn. And then we're going to complete our last single crochet stitch. So stick your hook into the last stitch. We're going to yarn over, you're going to pull up a loop. Now instead of using the red yarn, we're going to use our ring finger to hold this back and set this aside. I'm going to take my black, or in your case tan, we're going to slip this onto the hook. I'm going to gather up some feeder yarn. We're going to slip this black through these two red loops, and we've transitioned to black. Now we're not going to use the red again, so I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut this about 1 inch or so. And I'm going to tie the excess around the black just to secure the red. So tie this around twice. It doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to secure the red in place. All right, I'm going to remove these markers. All right, I'm going to tuck in this red as best as I can inside the chopstick. And it's so small. All right. Then I'm going to grab another marker and we're going to mark the last stitch that we made. And then we're going to move on to the next steps. So in this case for the chopstick, it wants you to insert a pipe cleaner. It's going to keep the stiffness, and then it's going to ensure that you can bend it however you want, but you don't, it's a chopstick, you don't need to. But the pipe cleaner is going to be sturdy enough. Now in my case, I don't want any metal, I don't want any plastic sticking out of these things, so I'm just going to make it very flimsy, and you know what, that's okay. I'm okay with that. If it's not for you, then yeah, definitely use a chapstick pipe cleaner. But we're going to complete the next rounds. Oh, you have to slip the pipe cleaner after we do the next rounds. Sorry. So this is going to be round 6. We need 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. All right, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So we're gonna have to do 21 rounds of single crochet stitches. It's a lot, it's very small, so be patient with yourself. And I'm gonna do this in silence. Alright, so I finished up the chopstick. This is where you would put the pipe cleaner. It does say to fold the ends of the pipe cleaners if you do want to protect little kids from the sharp metal. I just still don't prefer it, so I'm just going to leave it as is. So we have to just fasten off this piece here now. So I'm just going to cut a bit to be able to fasten it off and then hide the ends. Again, we're just going to yarn over and pull through the loop. Alright, and then tighten it up. I'm going to grab my needle. Alright, then I'm going to weave the remaining stitches. Okay, and once I'm back around, I'm just going to pull this closed and then find a moment to tie a knot. And then I'm just going to go back into this chopstick in one end and pop out in another. Okay, and then we're going to trim this. And then as we straighten this back out, the end is going to disappear into the chopstick. And there we have it. Alright, so now we're going to go back into our little project here. I did the second chopstick off camera. So here I have my two chopsticks, and I'm going to put these in a cross in the back like this. Okay, so we've got our chopsticks. I cannot. Alright, so here is our takeout. It's getting a little packed here now. So the last thing we have to do is the fortune cookie. So let's set this aside. I'm going to grab the color I'm going to use for the fortune cookie. This is what I'm going to end up using. So we're going to start with a magic ring. Now we've done this already 3 times. Actually 2 times. Let's do this one more time. So we're going to wrap the yarn 3 times around our finger with a little bit of overage. We're going to take the middle finger and clamp it down. You can take this opportunity to straighten out and tighten up the 3 strands around your finger. I'm going to slip this under the strands, and when I pull the hook back out, I'm going to grab this strand and pull it underneath these 2. Okay. Once we're here, we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull this through the loop, and then I'm going to remove my middle finger, slip the loops off my index finger, and then we can start doing the single crochet stitches. So let me show you how to do that. Alright, so we're going to stick our hook into the loops, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. We have our first single crochet stitch. Let's do that again. Into the loops, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So now we have 2 single crochet stitches. So one more time with you guys, into the loops, we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So now we have the 3. Next, I'm just going to continue the rest of the single crochet stitches that it asks for. Alright, then I'm going to grip the bottom stitches here. I'm going to pull this to see which loop goes in first. Once I've identified it, I'm going to stop pulling. We're going to pull the bottom half of that loop that just went in. And as we're pulling, we're going to see the other loop disappear. So keep pulling till that loop is in the magic ring entirely. And once we get there, we're going to pull this excess piece and make this loop disappear. Just for an added pull, we're going to go in the opposite direction and a little bit up. And we're going to pull this excess piece, and you're going to feel it pull just a little bit. And I'm going to place my marker under the last stitch we made. And we're going to move on to the next round. So, for the next round, we have to do increasing stitches. I'm just going to count back to the number of stitches we're supposed to have on this previous row, and I'm going to stick my hook into the last stitch, and then I'm going to do my increasing stitches. Alright, after I complete that round, I'm going to replace my marker to the last stitch we made, and we're going to move on to the next row. So for the next round, we have to alternate single crochet stitches with increasing stitches. Alright, so now I'm going to remove the marker and put it at the last stitch we made. For the next round, we're going to be alternating, again, increasing stitches with single crochet stitches. Just gather up some yarn here. I'm going to remove the marker and replace it to the last stitch we've made, and then we're going to move on to the next round. So for the next round, we're going to be alternating single crochet stitches with increasing stitches. Alright, remove the marker, put it under the last stitch you made, and then we're going to work on the next round. Let me just gather up some yarn here. So for the next round, again, we're going to do some increasing stitches alternating with single crochet stitches. And this yarn is very puffy. This is acrylic yarn. It's a little thicker. So this fortune cookie is going to be a lot larger compared to how big everything else is. Alright. Okay, let's complete this. Next round, again, alternating single crochet stitches with increasing stitches. All right. Kind of messed that last one up. Pierced the yarn, so I'm just gonna try cleaning that up. All right. Just gonna remove the marker and put it under the last stitch we made, and then we're gonna move on to the next round. Again, alternating single crochet stitches with increasing stitches. Just gather up some more yarn. Right, I'm going to remove the marker, put under the last stitch we made, and then it looks like we have one more row of alternating single crochet stitches with an increasing stitch. So can't wait, this was a lot. Okay. So now I have to fasten off and leave a tail for sewing. I'm not too sure what this sewing is going to entail. What we're going to do is double the length of where we think we're going to sew. So I think it's going to go around. It's going to go around this project twice. And then we're going to cut off here just to make sure we have enough. Then to fasten off, we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through the loop all the way out. And then we're going to tighten this up. We can remove this marker. Alright, so now what it's saying is that we get to put the safety eyes, placing them between round 6 and 7, about 2 inches apart. So I'm gonna grab a color that I think is gonna be all right to use. I mean, I have no brown on here, you guys, so I'm not too sure if any of this is gonna work, and I'm just gonna have to pick a color that just is, you know. So, guess not. I don't even have white in here. That's how crazy that is. Let me just pick this really light yellow. Yeah. I don't even have any browns up in here. Ultimately, I don't really think it matters. But, ooh, I think I have some already. I'm gonna use this yellow. Throw this up. So we're gonna count between 7 and 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stick this up in here. I'm gonna leave some tail to tie off, and I'm gonna make several passes so that I can make the eye thickness and shape that I want. Alright, and then once we get to the thickness we want, it's going to be 2 stitches apart. I'm going to do the other eye. You want to try to match the same thickness as the other eye. So now we're going to do the mouth, and okay, so I'm going to come up between the stitches in between the eyes. One here, and then I'm going to do the other one, the other end of the mouth, right in the middle of this stitch here. And then I'm going to come up from, I'm going to leave a little bit like this to be the smiley face, and come up in the middle, go through that loop. Then we're going to go back down into that same spot, and then we have our smiley face. Okay, we're going to twist this upside down, double knot the end piece here, and then we're going to sew this together. Okay. Now it says fold the fortune cookie. We're gonna fold the cookie. Let me throw this up first. So you have to fold the cookie in half. Okay. With the yarn needle, weave through the top of the stitches of round 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, top stitches. Okay, let me see. Make sure to weave the needle through the stitches, not over them, to create a clean finish on the outside. Okay, about half. Yes. Okay. So it sucks because you needed like a piece of felt to stick out of the cookie. I don't have that. It's not gonna happen. So if you have a felt piece, cut a little rectangle and prep it. What we're gonna do is stitch for stitch, we're just gonna go up through the braids here. And then we're gonna go over through the next braid or the stitch. We're just gonna keep doing that. I left this open. I really don't know. I wish I had like felt, because you can stick your fortune in there. But I don't know, we'll see. So I'm just gonna go through this. Meanwhile, I'm trying to think what I have that I can use as the fortune. So then it says to do halfway. I kind of, yeah, I'm there now. You can take some fiber fill and stuff your fortune cookie. Hope this is enough. That looks like a cannoli. I mean, I guess I could use a little bit more. Nah, because I actually, that's how much I have out. I can always, again, I have 32 ounces, but I think I'm just gonna keep this as it is. So you can definitely fill more. I don't want to have to go and get my bag of stuffing, so I'm just gonna put what I have left here on the desk. And then I'm gonna complete sewing this together. Okay, now I'm at the end here. What I'm gonna try doing is trying to get into this middle piece here. So I'm going to put my needle through the insides of my fortune cookie and try to like feed my needle towards the middle like this. Alright, and you want to be able to flatten this back out like that. Alright, then what you have to do is we got to create that bend. So I'm going to go back into the other side of this stitch here. I'm going to poke my way through like the first round, and then I'm going to go back into the center here and go back down and out through this end, and we're going to pull and shape this to bend like a fortune cookie. Okay, then I want to get to here. Let me see if I can find myself. I think I have some white felt. But you see how we twisted this? Alright, hold on a sec. Alright, I found a little bit more on my desk. I'm going to put this in here, and I did find white felt, so that's great. Okay, so I'm going to cut a little rectangular piece of this, and I'm going to switch to a metal needle so I can poke through this. But I'm just going to cut this, I guess, in maybe not even, maybe make it smaller. But yeah, do something like this. Alright, this was actually from my Nightmare Before Christmas kit. Okay. Then we're going to switch this out to the metal one. So be careful when you use metal, even when you use plastic, but obviously the metal can pierce your skin, so you don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to try to fish my needle to come up right about here. And again, be very careful with where you're placing it. You don't want to poke into your skin or anything. Okay. All right. Alright, so now I'm going to slip this rectangular piece in here like that. And when I sew the stitches together, I'm going to be able to pierce through the felt with the metal needle. And that's going to help secure the felt to your project. And just to make sure, I am going to double sew it, so I'll show you what I mean by that. We're just going to make a second pass through the felt because I want to make sure that this thing stays on there. Right. And once I make it to the other side at second pass, you know what, I really want to get this in there. So what you can do is fish your needle through this end. We're going to cheat it a little bit. Come out here, and we're going to try to hook the other end by putting this around a stitch and just closing it so we get this permanent hold. Okay, then I'm just gonna go around another stitch and just make a knot. It's not perfect, but it does what it needs to do. Okay, and then just to hide this, I'm going to go back into this project, come out through some random spot. Alright, and then I'm going to go in and cut this flush to the fortune cookie. Then you can always kind of squish it back to hide the end there. And then there you have it. We have our, you know, it's not the most perfect fortune cookie, but we got it. Alright, you guys, so let's take all our pieces together and have a look-see on our end result here. So excited. So we have our little takeout box. We can close this up. We have the little shrimp, the little noodles, our chopsticks, and try to close this up maybe. I don't know, whatever you want to do. No handles. Sorry, you guys. Isn't that kind of restaurant? No, I don't know. And then we have our huge fortune cookie with the fortune sticking out. How cutesy is that? So, comment below. Let me know what you think. These flaps are a little flimsy though. If either cardboard or wire would be great to line this. Or even, you know, but trying to keep this children friendly. Washer dryer friendly. But yeah. So that is it. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Next time we're going to be doing dessert. And then lastly, we're going to do snacks. Again, I am trying to get this out before I have to ship it out to my goddaughter. So I will be posting these videos. After I finish that, I am going to go back to my list of viewer requests that I have. Meanwhile, I am going to throw in some knit kits in between so that I get some of that out. At any rate, thank you so much, you guys, for watching. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.